There's a lot of Pickwickian imagery going around at the moment in Parliament. I think just a couple of weeks ago, Nicola Sturgeon said that the government's plan to deploy a Section 35 in order to block the gender reform legislation, she said this would the decision to utilise these powers for the first time threatened to drive a coach and horses through devolution, stoking fears over the future of Holyrood, and effectively ushering in the independence referendum. Now, it's not the only coach and horses that has been running around or that has been threatened in Westminster. Listening to Mogg and Raab and Braverman, you would think that the repeal of European laws, those European laws that have been passed as a nodded through in the British parliamentary system while we were in Europe, the repeal of these laws was a Brexit pledge. That's what you'd think, that it was part of the Brexit agenda, but a committee has branded the retained EU law bill, quote, a significant departure from the position taken by successive governments since the EU referendum in 2016. It allows for ministers to use secondary legislation. This is the problem, to revoke, restate, or amend laws. So rather than getting a law brought before Parliament and then being discussed by the two sides of the House of Parliament and in fact the two chambers, the House of Commons and the House of Lords, this bill championed by Jacob Rees-Mogg, who of course is no longer in a ministerial position but still harping on about it on Talk TV, this law would give government ministers the right to do whatever they want with the 3,700 or so laws that have so far been added to this legislation, added to this bill. So it gives ministers a blank check. It's rather disturbing, particularly because Brexit was supposed to give Parliament control over our laws. The objection to Europe was that another government had control over our laws, another Parliament had control over our laws in Brussels. Now, actually, some indiscriminate and lazy minister has control over our laws and can do whatever they want. That would be the logical conclusion of the the retained EU law bill. Because, of course, it's not retaining EU law, it's destroying EU law. And it's putting that EU law in the hands of a very small number of individuals. It is absolutely, as Stella Creasy says, she says it drives a coach and horses through parliamentary sovereignty. It's something that we were told would be improved by Brexit, something we were reassured about, something we were told would never happen, that such an abuse of power, that Brexit was there to stop an abuse of power, not to impose an abuse of power. And more than that, the laws which are being discussed are effectively being left in limbo until Christmas, until this retained EU law bill finally gets through the House of Commons and the House of Lords and gets royal approval. So 3 years after Boris, quote, got Brexit done, well, he did us all really, didn't he? 6 years or more since the Brexit referendum, trade and society are still left in a state of chaos because of things like Rees-Mogg's bill. That's the reality. It's the shoddy reality that we simply don't know what we're doing. And when we do know what we're doing, it can be changed on a whim by somebody like Suella Braverman. Would you want Suella Braverman changing a law on a whim because she can? Oh, there we are. Bay definitely wouldn't. Let's take it from Bay.